When conqueror is mentioned, who comes to mind first? You may think of popular names like Genghis Khan and Augustus Caesar, but there is one person that perhaps many will agree to be one of the greatest conquerors of all time. He is Alexander the Great, known for conquering different parts of the world, such as Egypt and Asia. But what really made him one of the greatest leaders in history? Hi, welcome to our channel. Today we'll be getting to know one of the most famous historical figures in our world. He is known for seizing control of the Eastern Mediterranean, Egypt, the Middle East, and portions of Asia in an impressively short time. But is there a secret to his greatness? Let's find out. As we begin, why don't you comment what your ideas are of Alexander the Great? Share your thoughts below. Now, let's get started. Alexander the Great, born in 356 BCE in Pella, Macedonia, was the king of Macedonia from 336 to 323 BCE. He conquered the Persian Empire, extended Macedonian rule to India, and set the stage for the Hellenistic world of regional kingdoms. During his lifetime, he became the center of incredible tales, and over time, a legendary figure emerged, although this legend only loosely reflects his actual historical achievements. Alexander, the son of King Philip II, received an early education that included reading, writing, and playing the lyre. This upbringing instilled in him a lasting passion for literature and music. During his teenage years, his father enlisted Aristotle as his personal tutor. Over the course of 3 years under Aristotle's guidance, Alexander cultivated an appreciation for science, focusing especially on medicine and botany. This interest extended to the point that Alexander incorporated botanists and scientists into his army to explore and study the territories he conquered. He later surpassed his teacher's limited belief that non-Greeks should be treated as slaves. In 340 BCE, when entrusted with the leadership of Macedonia during Philip's campaign against Byzantium, Alexander defeated the Mede, a Thracian people. 2 years later, he played a significant role as the commander of the left wing in the Battle of Gaugamela, where Philip triumphed over the united Greek states. During the battle, Alexander demonstrated personal bravery by breaking the sacred band of Thebes, an elite military unit consisting of 150 pairs of lovers. In the following year, Philip divorced Olympias. A dispute arose at a feast celebrating his father's new marriage, leading Alexander and his mother to flee to Epirus, and Alexander subsequently traveled to Illyria. Despite the estrangement, the father and son eventually reconciled, and Alexander returned. However, his status as the heir faced uncertainty during this tumultuous period. But, in 336 BCE, when Philip was assassinated, Alexander was hailed by the army and smoothly took over without any opposition. Right away, he had the princes of Lynkestis, believed to be involved in Philip's murder, along with potential rivals and the entire opposing faction, executed. After securing Thessaly, which was undecided about supporting him, he attended a meeting of the Greek League of Corinth and was chosen as the supreme commander for the upcoming invasion of Asia, a plan already set in motion by Philip. On his way back to Macedonia through Delphi, where the Pythian priestess declared him invincible, he moved into Thrace in the spring of 335 BCE. There, he forced through the Shipka Pass, defeated the Triballi, and crossed the Danube to disperse the Getae. Turning west, he then triumphed over and dispersed a coalition of Illyrians who had invaded Macedonia. Since he became king, Alexander had been determined to undertake the Persian expedition. This goal had been ingrained in his thinking from early on. Additionally, he viewed the riches of Persia as crucial for sustaining the military force established by his father, Philip, and for settling the debt of 500 talents that he owed. Previous successes, such as the achievements of the 10,000, a group of Greek mercenaries, and Agesilaus of Sparta, who effectively campaigned in Persian territory, had demonstrated the weaknesses of the Persian Empire. Alexander believed that with a strong cavalry, he could anticipate victory over any Persian army. Alexander commanded an army of less than 40,000 soldiers, predominantly composed of fiercely loyal Macedonians. This adaptable force comprised both cavalry and heavily armed infantry, the latter using spears and forming a phalanx that advanced steadily behind raised shields. Demonstrating exceptional tactical awareness, Alexander skillfully organized his troops and won their loyalty by actively leading them in battles and enduring multiple injuries. We're just getting started to know the many legendary tales of Alexander's battles. What are your thoughts on him so far? Tell us in the comments below. After enduring 3 heavy years of conflict and participating in 3 decisive battles, Alexander decisively defeated the Persian armies at the Tigris River and successfully conquered the formidable Persian Empire, including the renowned city of Babylon. This victory held special significance for many Greeks, symbolizing a gratifying moment of reprisal against a long-standing adversary. Taking advantage of the political instability within Persia, Alexander expanded his conquests beyond Persia into regions such as Asia Minor, Syria, Egypt, Mesopotamia, and Bactria. Notably, he didn't radically overhaul existing administrative systems. Instead, he adapted them to suit his objectives. Alexander's approach differed from imposing his own beliefs on truth, religion, or conduct upon the conquered populations. He prioritized maintaining open supply lines to sustain and equip his troops, a crucial element in his governance of vast territories. Nevertheless, this pragmatic approach didn't prevent him from ruthlessly suppressing uprisings or brutally annihilating those who opposed him. However, Alexander's aspirations were far from easily quenched. While engaged in battles against the Persians, he not only conquered Egypt, but also established a city at the Nile River's mouth. This city, named Alexandria in his honor, evolved into a vibrant, diverse hub of trade, arts, and ideas. Throughout his conquests, Alexander founded approximately 20 cities, predominantly situated east of the Tigris River, many of which bore his name. The first and most significant among them was Alexandria in Egypt, later becoming a crucial urban center in the Mediterranean. The strategic placement of these cities took into account trade routes and defensive considerations. Alexander's cities were likely intended as central administrative hubs for his empire, primarily populated by Greeks, many of whom had participated in Alexander's military campaigns. The primary goal of these administrative centers was to exert control over the newly subjugated populations. However, this objective was not fully achieved during Alexander's lifetime. In an effort to forge a unified ruling class in conquered regions like Persia, Alexander frequently employed marriage alliances to intermingle the conquered people with the conquerors. He also incorporated elements of Persian court culture, introducing his own variations of royal attire and adopting certain court ceremonies. These efforts at unification extended to his army as well. Alexander integrated Persian soldiers, some of whom had undergone training in the Macedonian style, into the Macedonian ranks, thereby addressing persistent manpower issues. However, many Macedonians opposed these policies, viewing the blending of Greek and foreign cultures as disrespectful. In 327 BCE, having firmly established control over the Persian Empire, Alexander shifted his focus toward India. Before reaching the Ganges River, which he aimed to cross for further conquests in India, he achieved some victories. However, his fatigued troops rebelled and adamantly refused to proceed any further. The extent of Alexander's knowledge about India beyond the Hyphasis, likely the modern Beas, remains uncertain. There is no conclusive evidence indicating he was aware of the Ganges. Despite this, Alexander was eager to advance deeper into the region. The mutiny occurred when the army reached the Hyphasis, where they refused to continue due to exhaustion from the tropical climate. Weary in both body and spirit, the soldiers, led by Caunus, one of Alexander's 4 chief marshals, made their refusal clear. Faced with their determination, Alexander reluctantly agreed to turn back. In the spring of 324 BCE, Alexander returned to Susa, the capital of Elam and the Persian Empire's administrative center. There's a tale, possibly exaggerated or even untrue, about his journey through Carmania, where he partied heavily, dressed as Dionysus. Upon his return to Susa, he discovered that his treasurer, Harpalus, had fled with 6,000 mercenaries and 5,000 talents to Greece, likely to avoid punishment for embezzlement. Harpalus was captured in Athens but managed to escape, only to be later murdered in Crete. In Susa, Alexander hosted a feast to celebrate his conquest of the Persian Empire. As part of his strategy to unite Macedonians and Persians into a single dominant race, he and 80 of his officers took Persian wives. Alexander himself and his close companion Hephaestion married Darius's daughters Barsine, also known as Statira, and Drypetis, respectively. Additionally, 10,000 of his soldiers, who had married local women, were granted substantial dowries. This marked yet another effort to bring the two cultures together. Following this, he sends numerous experienced soldiers back home, with rewards and accolades, and starts making arrangements for additional campaigns. Unexpectedly, in Babylon, while occupied with plans to enhance the irrigation of the Euphrates and settle the Persian Gulf Coast, Alexander fell ill following an extended banquet and drinking session. 10 days later, in June 323 BCE, he passed away at the age of 32, having reigned for 12 years and 8 months. Ptolemy, who would later become a king, diverted Alexander's body to Egypt, where it was eventually placed in a golden coffin in Alexandria. He was honored as divine in both Egypt and various Greek cities. With no designated heir to the throne, Alexander's generals selected Philip Aridaeus, the half-witted, illegitimate son of Philip II, and Alexander's posthumous son by Roxana, Alexander IV, as kings. The satrapies were divided among the generals after extensive negotiations. The empire faced difficulty in remaining unified after Alexander's death. Both kings met tragic ends, with Aridaeus murdered in 317 BCE and Alexander in 310 or 309 BCE. The provinces became independent kingdoms, and following Antigonus's example in 306 BCE, the generals assumed the title of king. While Alexander was still alive, the eastern boundaries of his empire started to crumble. Nevertheless, the void he left in the northwest of the Indian subcontinent directly paved the way for the emergence of one of the most influential Indian dynasties in history, the Maurya Empire. Alexander's impact went beyond his military triumphs, and his rule represented a pivotal moment in the history of both Europe and Asia. His military expeditions significantly enhanced interactions and trade between the eastern and western regions, leading to extensive exposure of vast areas to Greek culture and influence in the East. What are your thoughts on Alexander the Great so far? Do you think that he deserves the reverence that he gets today for his accomplishments? Tell us what you think in the comments below. If you enjoyed watching this video, give it a like, hit subscribe, and ring the notification bell. Thanks for watching.